Jai Radha Madhava, then we'll read Srila Prabhupada Lila Mitra, and then the class. So once again, welcome, and I'll start Jai Radha Madhava. Jai Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Jivanapani, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Yashodanandana Prajanarandana, Yashodanandana Prajanarandana, Yamunatira Manachari, Yamunatira Manachari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunjariha, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava, Jaya Radha, Jaya Radha, Jaya Radha, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Bala, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Govardhan, 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 thank you, Govardhan. Mr. Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Mr. Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Gurudev. Shri Shri Radha Giri, Shri Shri Gauraj, Nanda Subhadra Gira, Nivas, Shri Prabhupada, Srimad Bhagavatam, Gaur Bhakti, Gautam, So I'm requesting Abhay Charan Prabhu to please start sharing the screen for Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhu. So I will read this one here. Reading from Srila Prabhupada Mitra, Delhi crying alone in the wilderness. Srila Prabhupada Vijay. He somehow managed to meet the financial, editorial, and printing demands and published his 6th issue for the year of 1956, the May of 20th edition of Back to Godhead. The front page carried a special notice. As a matter of principle, please read Back to Godhead and revive your deeper aspect of personality. There is nothing in it which is our ideology manufactured by imperfect sense perception, but all that it contains are messages of our liberated sages. We are simply helping them to speak again to men and women in easy language for the real life. Every responsible man and woman must therefore read it regularly at a cost of very insignificant sum of rupees 2-4 a year, or AS Anna, I think Anna 3 per month, 3 Anna, and that was rupee was different. I think 16 Annas consisted of 1 rupee per month. Do not neglect it. It is for your interest. It will create a happy society of humanity. In How to Broadcast the Teaching of Bhagavad Gita, we talk about the need for spiritual organization in society. Our model community, which we name Gita Nagari, the village where the Bhagavad Gita is sung, would live by the Bhagavad Gita and preach its message to the world, praising Mahatma Gandhi, for his Vaishnava quality, Abhay suggested that Gandhi had also esteemed the Gita Nagari concept. It was the only way of relief from the suffering caused by the demonic principal leaders who were misguiding the present demoralized civilization. He was calculating how to capture the restless popular imagination. He wanted to present Krishna's teaching in a clear, straightforward way and distribute them widely. He felt that good argument from authoritative scripture would appeal to sane, impartial, educated people, even though they claimed to be uninterested. He knew that somehow, without abandoning his gravity and his absolute conviction, he must capture their interest. They were relegating religion to some book of scripture on the shelf that they never read, didn't understand, or couldn't believe. He brought it to them as a newspaper. Yet it was as good as the scriptures. No, it wasn't what they expected in a newspaper, but they might read it. So should I stop here? Okay, I'll read one more paragraph. The chanting process of the holy name of God, as conducted by the propaganda of back to Godhead, is not pleasing. It is not pleasing to the superficial pleasure hunters describing men and women in indecent literature in Western news, but it is the means of relishing the transcendent eternal life. In addition to the selling of Back to Godhead at tea stall and delivering copies to donors, Abhay also mailed out free copies, both within India and abroad. For years, the vast audience of English-speaking readers outside India had concerned him, and he wanted to reach them. Having gathered addresses of libraries, universities, and cultural and governmental outlets outside India, he mailed as many Back to Godhead as he could afford. He prepared a letter for his Western readers, suggesting that they should be even more receptive than his countrymen. So should I stop here, Hare Krishna?
Yes, Prabhu, you can stop here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Srila Prabhupada's struggle in publishing Back to Godhead and single-handedly distributing them, publishing editorial, and then mailing them even to overseas countries. Such amazing, inspiring episode from Srila Prabhupada Leela Mitra Ki Jai. Thank you. So now we'll read the verse for today. Abhay, we want to share the verse. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4.
Okay, that's I meant to.
Okay, chapter 22, text 11. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Skritam Naram Cheva Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jagaryat Nastaprayestu Bhadrestu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Sloke Bhakti Bhakti Hituki. Okay, here's the verse. So today's verse on this auspicious day of the starting of the Varsukam month, we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 22, text 11, heading Pithu Maharaj's meeting with the Kumaras. Very nice verse. Yesterday, Prabhuji, Chitra Krishna Prabhu read the verse number 10, very, very enlivening. So let's read this first and recite it, and then we go on to actually text and the pen of public. Vyala Lashya Dhumavishte Sav Arikta Khila Sampada Yadhyastitha Padiya Pada Titha Vivarjitaha Vyasalaya Dhumate Vaishte Sav Arikta Khila Sampada Yadhyastitha Padiya Pada Titsaya Vivarjitaha. Anybody like to recite, please?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Nanda Prabhu, go ahead. Thank you.
Yalalaya Dhumra Boiteshu Arikta Akila Sampada Yad Grihastirtha Padiya Pada Tirtha Vivarjitaha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I am also trying.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Belalayo Druma Boitesha Harikta Akhila Sampada Yad Grihas Tirtha Padiya Pada Tirtha Vivarjitaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Go ahead, Madam. Thank you.
Belala Buiteshwa Ariktaakhila Sampadaha Yad Grihastirtha Padiya Padatirtha Vivarjitaha. Hare Krishna.
Oh, so nice, Madam. Thank you very much. Such a nice.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. I am also trying.
Yes, Prabhuji, go ahead. Thank you.
Vyalo alaya druma vaiteshu ariktakhila sampadaha yad grihastirtha padiya padatirtha vivarjitaha. Hare Krishna.
Anybody else? Okay, then we'll go with the synonyms. Anybody would like to read the synonyms?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please go ahead.
Vyala, venomous serpents. Alaya, home. Dhumra, Dhruma, tree. Boy, certainly. Teshu, in those houses. Arikta, abundantly. Akhila, all. Sampada, opulences. Yat, that. Griha, houses. Tirtha Padiya, in relation with the great feet, in relation with the feet of great saintly person. Padatirtha, the water which washed their feet. Vivarjita, without.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Anybody would like to translation?
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. On the contrary, even though full of all opulence and material prosperity, any householder's house where the devotees of the Lord are never allowed to come in and where there is no water for washing their feet is to be considered a tree in which all venomous serpents live. Thank you, Prabhu.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a nice translation. Anybody would like to read the purport? Okay, then I'll read the purpose. Thank you. Hare Krishna. In this verse, the word Tirtha Padiya indicates devotees of Lord Vishnu or Vaishnavas. As far as the Brahmanas are concerned, in the previous verse, the mode of reception has been already described. Now, in this verse, special stress is being given to the Vaishnavas. Generally, the sannyasis or those in the renounced order of life take trouble to enlighten the householders. They are Ekadandi sannyasis and Tridandi sannyasis. The Ekadandi sannyasis are generally followers of Sankacharya and are known as Mayavadi sannyasis, whereas the Tridandi sannyasis are followers of Vaishnavacharyas, Ramanacharya, Madhvacharya, and so on, and they take trouble to enlighten householders. Ekadandi sannyasis can be situated on the platform of pure Brahman because they are aware that the spirit soul is different from the body, but they are mainly impersonalists. The Vaishnavas know that the absolute truth is the supreme person, and that the Brahman effulgence is based on the supreme person of Godhead, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 14.27. Brahmano hi pratistaham. The conclusion is that the Tirtha Padiya refers to Vaishnavas. In the Bhagavatam 113.10, there is also another reference. Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani. Wherever he goes, a Vaishnava immediately makes that place Tirtha, a place of pilgrimage. The Vaishnava sannyasis travel all over the world to make every place a place of pilgrimage by the touch of the Lord's feet. It is mentioned here that any house which does not receive a Vaishnava in the manner already explained in the previous verse is to be considered the residential quarters of venomous serpents. It is said that around sandalwood tree, which is a very valuable tree, there is a venomous serpent. Sandalwood is very cold, and venomous serpents, because their poisonous teeth are always very warm, and they take shelter of the sandalwood tree to become cooler. Similarly, there are many rich men who keep watchdogs or doormen and put up signs that say, "Do not enter, trespassers not allowed, beware of the dog," etc., etc. Sometimes in Western countries, a trespasser is shot and there is no crime in such shooting. This is the position of demonic householders, and such houses are considered to be residential quarters of venomous snakes. The members of such families are no better than snakes because snakes are very much envious, and when the envy is directed to the saintly person, the position becomes more dangerous. It is said by Chanika Pandit that there are two envious living entities, the snake and the envious man. The envious man is more dangerous than a snake because a snake can be subdued by chanting mantras or by herbs, but an envious person cannot be pacified by any means. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnanatamidasya Gyananjana Salakaya Sakshamitam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Ye Chaitanya Manobhistam Sattamina Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Satadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shriyata Padakamalam Niruna Vaishnavancha Shri Rupam Savitam Sargana Raghunatham Tam Sadhyam Tapsajivam Advaitam Sarvabhutam Parvina Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srivasa Guru Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Oh. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pshtaya Bhutale Srimati Tamal Krishna Dasami Dinamini. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pshtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Dinamini. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharani Vishesha Srinivadi Pashyata Desitarani. So once again, welcome everyone this morning to this Bhagavatam class, this auspicious day of the first day of Purushottam. So in this verse, the words are used are very, very strong. Venomous snakes, serpents, envious people. And this is a big contrast to the previous verse, where the reception, the mode of reception of Vaishnavas or devotees is very nicely explained. So this chapter here, we're reading from the fourth canto, chapter 22, is entitled Prithu Maharaja's meeting with the Kumaras. This bit of recap. I think yesterday the Chitra Krishna Prabhu really captured the summary of the previous chapter, instruction by Prithu Maharaj. And now this chapter starts with the arrival of the four Kumaras. As soon as the Prithu Maharaj in chapter 21 finished instruction of the population, and the populace, the citizens, very, very happy to have this instruction, and they're praising him. And as this episode finished, we see beginning of this chapter that the effulgence spreading in the sky, and the four Kumaras arrive at the palace of Prithu Maharaj. And Prithu Maharaj is so enchanted, so happy to receive them, and he goes all the way to receive them with his ministers, his citizens, and get them seated on a very palatial seat. It's mentioned in the previous verse. When they were sitting, it was like there was fire on the palatial seat. So they were glowing, they were effulgent. They said, yeah, Mr. Brahmacharis, and they were glowing. And the way Prithu Maharaj received them has been explained very detailed in the previous verses up to verse number 10. And Prabhupada sets a standard illustrates how the Vedic culture received the guest, especially the sannyasis, devotees, gurus, advanced with how they should be respected, how they should be received, and what is the benefits of receiving them. That was also very nicely explained yesterday by Chitra Krishna Prabhu. So in this verse, we see the opposite. What happens when great devotees arrive to somebody's place and they are not received? Prabhupada initially explains the in a very strong message. He says in this verse, the purpose is so self-explanatory. It says, on the contrary, even though full of opulence and material prosperity, any householder's house where the devotees of the Lord are never allowed to come in, and where there is no water for washing their feet, is to be considered a tree in which all venomous serpents live. Comparing this materialists who fail to receive the devotees very nicely, here Sukadeva Goswami is using very, very strong words: envious serpents, venomous serpents. So such strong words, and it's very appropriate because we see through the purport how Srila Prabhupada comes to this point. So initially, so I'll go on giving some examples how previously materialists who have not received the devotees in this in a fitting manner, and what was the consequence, what was the result of the not receiving devotees in the proper manner. So before that, let me just see some of the points that Prabhupada mentioned. He says the word padya, Tirtha padya is very, very important. Prabhupada is going to explain. Actually, the padya Tirtha indicates Vaishnavas, especially not above the Brahmins. Prabhupada mentioned there are Ekadandi sannyasis and Tridandi sannyasis. Ekadandi sannyasis are followers of Sankaracharya, while the Tridandi sannyasis are followers of the Vaishnava acharyas, Brahmanacharya, Madhacharya, etc. So what is the difference? Ekadandi sannyasi for Ekadandi because they carry one rod, and it implies they are followers of Sankaracharya, and their goal is to merge in the Brahman effulgence. These followers of Sankaracharya are differentiated from the Vaishnava Tridandi sannyasis because they save their head completely. They don't have Sikha. Also, they don't have Brahman thread. Okay, and they are following it of Mayavadic philosophy. And normally we find them in the Himalayas or some much, especially in Jagannath Puri. There are centers. I've seen one of them in Jagannath Puri, in other places. So they have this three stroke indication on their forehead. There are no Sikha, no thread, and they are mostly found in these places. Where is the Tridandi sannyasis? Because the Tridandi, because they have given their mind, their words, and the body for the service of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, they're called Tridandi. And also when they give up, they also have a Jiva Danda, where they are serving the Lord by spreading his message to the Jivas. They also, so also there are three bamboos come together, bounded together. They are called Tridandi, and they are followers of the Vaishnava acharyas. And the main purpose of this Tridandi sannyasis is to enlighten people all over the place. They take great trouble to travel to different locations on a very, very difficult condition to spread the message of Krishna. So this is, Prabhupada confirms the word Padatirtha actually refers to these great Vaishnavas who take great trouble to spread the message of Godhead all over the world. We have like Srila Prabhupada, and we have a lot of devotees, sannyasis within ISKCON. They follow these three sannyas. And when they take the 3 daily sannyas, it's a special verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. There is recite that as they are surrender to spreading the message of the Godhead. So there's some differences. And Prabhupada here then mentioned this word, Pada Tirtha, is also mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapter 30, text number 10, it says, Tithi Kurvanti Tithani. So in this verse, the actual translation is like this: My Lord, devotees like your good self are very holy places personified. Because you carry the personality of Godhead within your heart, you turn all places into places of pilgrimage. Such a strong statement. So these great devotees, acharyas, are working places of pilgrimage. We have like working libraries, working workshops. They actually travel, and because they carry the Lord within their heart, they are sanctified the places where they go. Like if you go to India, you take a bath in Ganga, we actually have to go to Ganga to take a bath to become purified. But these great devotees, Padatirtha, they actually they are great places of pilgrimage. They carry the pilgrimage place within the heart, and wherever they go, they purify the place, because they have this great potency of enlightening the people and spreading the message of Godhead. They are very greatly glorified. So Prabhupada is mentioning here this: the Vaishnava sannyasis travel all the world to make every place a place of pilgrimage by the touch of the Holy Spirit. And then how these sannyasis or great acharyas are to receive, we have seen in the previous verse. But in this verse, the emphasis on what is the result, who are the non-devotees who are not very keen or are reluctant to receive these acharyas. So in this verse, which mentions, Prabhupada says, they are compared to the venomous snakes, which sort of forbids or make a dangerous situation for anybody to come to where they're staying. Prabhupada compares these snakes. They are mostly staying in sandalwood trees. Prabhupada here mentioned that sandalwood tree has a special fragrance. Also, one good quality is that even in a hot summer day, like reaches 45, 50 degrees centigrade, the sandalwood tree remains cool. And because the venomous snakes, because they're poison within their fangs, the body is warm, hot. And so they try to wrap around themselves in the branches of the sandalwood tree. So the venomous snakes are very dangerous, and sandalwood tree is very auspicious. But because they don't appreciate they don't appreciate the gravity or the auspiciousness of the sandalwood, they just take it very lightly. They use it for different purpose. So in one of the verses that Prabhupada mentioned, it's like throwing pearls to the swans, to the pigs. Pigs have no appreciation of the value of this, of the diamonds or other things, pearls, so they can just eat them. So similarly, the non-devotees who are very envious, they got no appreciation of the blessing they will receive by receiving this great acharya. So they are compared to the snakes in a sandalwood tree. Prabhupada then mentioned current situation where we go to, many devotees go start preaching house to house distribution. We see signs or trespassers will be persecuted, no trespassers, or it says beware of dogs. This is the current situation where even layman is not allowed to visit a place of presence of materialist people because they see these signs. Prabhupada here mentioned that even Western countries, the situation is very grave. Somebody unknowingly somebody approaches some place and knocks on the door. And in America, the owner of the house has a right to sue them. I just read a few weeks back, one neighbor's son, they were playing in the yard, and their ball went to the neighbor's yard, and this child went to pick up the ball, and when the neighbor came to know, he just came out of the house and shot him. Wow, this is the demonic mentality. All the Vedic culture, all the good sense of humanity is gone to the beings, and it has become so careless. They have no appreciation, no humility, no compassion. This to protect their materialist courtyard, they can go to the extent of shooting a person. So it's very, very dangerous situation. So this is the situation currently. And then, so Prabhupada said, the family members who are staying in such houses are no better than vermin snakes. Although they are living in a palatial home, very luxuriously, very nice facility, because they have no culture of spiritual culture. They are envious of the devotees who are spreading the message of Godhead. They are compared to vermin snakes. But vermin snakes are very dangerous. They don't allow anybody to come near them. They can bite. Somebody can give poison to somebody. So very nice comparison. So now the next few minutes I'd like to discuss some of the examples from scripture where this sort of incidents happen and what was the consequence. So I'd like to read a typical, very strong example from Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is the pastime of Namacharya Haridas Thakur mentioned in the Antya-lila, chapter 3, from verses 144 to 164. Ramchandra Khan was a tax collector, a very influential person. And when he saw that Namacharya Haridas Thakur was getting very influential in his preaching, he became very envious. And he tried to discourage Namacharya Haridas Thakur by many means, but he was not successful. So finally, he came to a decision, trying to defame Namacharya Haridas Thakur by sending a prostitute. And then I announced to the villages what he has done, and by this way, trying to discredit Namacharya Haridas Thakur. But as we know from the past time, Namacharya Haridas Thakur, such a great devotee, although knowing Ramchandra Khan's devious plan, he stayed back and then rescued this prostitute for 3 days they were chanting, and eventually the prostitute became a great devotee. So this Ramchandra Khan was so envious that after Namacharya Haridas Thakur left the place and the prostitute became a great devotee, he was still within the heart, he was feeling still envy. So one time, Lord Nityananda was preaching in the same area. He came to Ramchandra Khan's residence, and there's a Durga Mandap in the front of the house, and Lord Nityananda sat in the Durga Mandap where the place of worship is. And then instead of welcoming Lord Nityananda, this nice reception as we discussed in the previous verse, Ramchandra Khan became so envious, he didn't even come out. He sent his servant to ask Lord Nityananda that please go to another place. He said, oh, there's a milkman place around in the area, and we'll give you cow shed, which is very spacious, so you can stay there. He said, don't stay here. Just imagine, and Lord Nityananda is such a avaduta, such a full of mercy, coming to his place, and instead of even welcoming sweet words or giving some bit of reception, water or seed, he actually sent his servant and to banish him in such a devious way. So Lord Nityananda was very unhappy, and he said, and Lord Nityananda cursed him, and he just left not only Ramchandra Khan's place, but he also left the village. So I'm just reading from Chaitanya Charimata, the purpose of what happened after that. Ramchandra Khan Aprada Bija Kaila Seji Bija Vikshahana Agita Paliyam. By inducing a prostitute to disturb Haridas Thakur, Ramchandra Khan caused a seed of offense in his lotus feet to germinate. This seed later became a tree, and when it fructified, Ramchandra Khan ate its fruit. This offense at the lotus feet of an exalted devotee has resulted in a wonderful narration. Taking advantage of the opportunity afforded by this incident, I shall explain what happened. Oh, devotees, please listen. This is Krishnadas Kaviraj Maharaj explaining. Okay. Ramchandra Khan was naturally a non-devotee. Now, having offended a lotus feet of Haridas Thakur, he became just like a demonic atheist. Because of blaspheming the cult of Vaishnavism and insulting the devotee for a long time, he now received the result of his offensive activities. When Lord Nityananda returned to Bengal to preach the cult of Bhakti, love of God, he began touring all over the country. For two purposes, to spread the cult of Bhakti and to defeat and subdue atheists, Lord Nityananda, the most dedicated devotee of Lord, moved throughout the country. Lord Nityananda, who is omniscient, because he is the supreme person of Godhead, came to the house of Ramchandra Khan and sat down on the altar of the Durga Mandap. When the Durga Mandap and the courtyard became filled with crowds of men, Ramchandra Khan, who was inside the house, sent his servant to Lord Nityananda. The servant informed Lord Nityananda, "My dear sir, Ramchandra Khan has sent me to accommodate you in some common man's house. You might go to the house of a milkman, for the cowshed is spacious, whereas the space here in the Durga Mandap is insufficient because you have many followers with you." When Nityananda Prabhu heard this order from the servant of Ramchandra Khan, he became very angry and came out laughing very loudly. He spoke as follows: "Ramchandra Khan has spoken rightly. This place is unfit for me. It is fit for cow-killing meat eaters." Having said this, Lord Nityananda stood up and left in an angry mood. To chastise Ramchandra Khan, he did not even stay in that village. Ramchandra Khan ordered the servant to dig up the dirt in the place where Nityananda Prabhu had sat. To purify Durga Mandap temple and the courtyard, Ramchandra Khan sprinkled and smeared it with water mixed with cow dung, but still his mind was unsatisfied. Ramchandra Khan's business was questionable, for he had tried to avoid paying income tax to the government. Therefore, the government's Minister of Finance was angry and came to his residence. The Muslim minister made his residence in the Durga Mandap of Ramchandra Khan. He killed a cow and cooked the meat at that very place. He arrested Ramchandra Khan along with his wife and son, and then he continuously plundered the house and village for 3 days. In that very room, he cooked flesh of cow for 3 consecutive days. Then the next day he left, accompanied by his followers. The Muslim minister took away Ramchandra Khan's position, wealth, followers. For many days, the village remained deserted. Wherever an advanced devotee is insulted, for one man's fault, the entire town or place is afflicted. So such a wonderful narration. Because Ramchandra Khan was so envious, and we see the result. His whole house was demolished. His family was defamed. He was arrested, and his house became the place where the cow was killed and meat of cow was cooked and eaten in the place. Just by not receiving advance great personality like Lord Nityananda, this is the result. So we can see it's very, very offensive not to receive a great personality, even if you can't have simple words of welcome or offers a seat or some water. This we can do, at least welcome with nice words. But Ramchandra Khan completely failed to do this, follow this Vedic culture, and the result was disaster for him. It's a very nice lesson to learn. And then there are other examples we can see. Lord Balaram was not received by Raman Harshan. We know when in the great sacrifice where the Srimad Bhagavatam was to be recited, Rama Harshan was selected to read the Srimad Bhagavatam by the sages assembled there. But when Lord Balaram appeared there, all the sages stood up, welcomed with nice words, put him in a nice seat, welcomed him, washed his feet. But then Lord Balaram noticed that Ramana Harshan, he did not even stand up. He was still sitting on the seat. And Lord Balaram became extremely angry by this insult of not welcoming him. And just by a mantra, he used a pushpa grass, he touched pushpa grass to Ramana Harshan, just killed him. Such extreme reaction, instant reaction. Lord Balaram is very merciful. He's a spiritual master of the world. He did this to exemplify, to see, to show us that how not to offend great devotees, and what is the result. So later the sages became very disturbed, and they said, what should be done to rectify this situation? So they said, okay, Raman Harsh's son is also an offspring of his offspring, and we can put him in the place of Raman Harsh in the seat, and he can give the class. And Lord Nityananda, Lord Balaram will told the teachers to rectify the situation. So that was the situation, how the situation was rectified. We also saw in this previous chapter, in the Katha of Pritha Maharaj, how King Veena was also such a rascal, so envious, so cruel. He did not even entertain any devotees. Not only that, he put them in great stress, arrested them, and he asked all the devotees to worship him as a Supreme Lord. And the result was a disaster. He was killed by the very sages who installed him as a king. So this is another very, very, very powerful example. Then we see in the pastime Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva was not welcomed by his final Lord Daksha, and Daksha was envious of Lord Shiva or Lord Shiva's position, although he had very grudgingly given his daughter to Lord Shiva in marriage. So because Daksha did not welcome Lord Shiva, what followed eventually was the Lord Daksha lost his head eventually and has to be rescued by Lord Brahma. So these are some of the examples where we see envious people, although they have a lot of opulence, and King had a lot of opulence, so had Ramchandra Khan, and we see Daksha. They had a lot of opulence, but they were, because their heart was not clear, their heart was full of envy, and they were not in that position, in that mood. They were reluctant or not even welcoming great devotees. And then by not doing simple thing, following the Vedic etiquette, the result was disaster for all of these people. Okay. And we also have see case of Ravana, Hiranyakasipu. They also made a similar fate. So it's very important. If some devotee comes to a place, even in other preachers come on, even the Christian preachers come to our place, at least we should at least have a sweet word for them, give some water, or if not, just sweet word. No, not getting angry or abusing anybody. The result will be disaster. I can see from my personal experience, in my childhood, we were growing up in a village, and sometimes sadhus will come, and my mother will just go out, give them some uncooked rice or some water. If nothing else, it's just nice word, do pranam and just give water. Okay, the sadhu will just go to next begging. And I still remember, we'll just go behind my mom and just watch this process. But there were a lot of sadhus coming, and they'll just say, Diksham Dehesi. And the house will go out, and because my dad was not at this time in the house, my mother just go out and give some water or some drinks. So this is the Vedic culture. And although there were a lot of fake sadhus, the village people will come down in the evening and talk. Or this sadhu collect all these grains, and they're doing like a big gathering near the pond, smoking, talking ill. But they were also fake sadhu, but there were also some genuine sadhu. So we cannot distinguish who is who. So generally, the people in the village are just very pious. They'll just give something, whoever it is there, whether it's pious, fake sadhu or good sadhu. And by the act of this charity, they receive unlimited blessing to the sadhu, although some might be fake. But the result is that you don't take chances, you just read and hope the sadhu is genuine and you get good blessing. So in the end of this verse, Prabhupada is explaining why this happens, because the materialist persons are very envious. Prabhupada quotes Chanakya Pandit. He said there are two types envious living entities: the snake and the envious man. The snake can be subdued or controlled by the mantras or some herbs, but the envious man is very, very dangerous because he cannot be perceived by any means. We see in Bhagavad Gita, to receive the transcendental knowledge in the beginning of chapter 9, first verse, Krishna tells Arjuna, I am giving this transcendental knowledge, most confidential knowledge. Why? Because you are not envious of me and you are a great friend of me. So not having this envious mentality is like a pre-qualification for bhakti. In chapter 12, we see such nice description of the qualities where devotees are, what qualities Lord Krishna appreciate. Advaita sarva bhutana maitrikana nevacha nirmaho niyankara shama shuka dupakshani santusto satana yogi yomedra nishchaya mayir pito manakudi samepata samapiya. So one of the things is non-envious, non-possessive. The one who's non-possessive is happy in equilibrium, in happiness and distress, is magnanimous, looking everybody equally, samadarshina. These are some of the qualities the Lord really appreciates. And by receiving the Lord, devotees in a very Vedic way, having a reasonable good reception, then all these qualities within the heart get diminished just by their missing. That's why Prabhupada mentions here in the beginning of this paper that the sannyasis take this and go from door to door, travel in a lot of difficult situation just to enlighten the people, just by their visit, by their sight, because they are place of pilgrimage. They are can the Lord in the heart just by the visit, by their vision, by their darshan. All these bad qualities within the heart is diminished, and one can come to the platform of devotional service. At least leaves some blessing. At least we can go forward. So this culture is so nice. The culture of love, culture of respect, culture of transcendent loving relation. How to go forward. So here, Prabhupada mentioned, because the enviousness within the heart of a man, even though they might be very opulent, then they are not willing to welcome devotees with open heart. And this is very disastrous. We also see in the, we'll see in the next Prabhupada Lilamrita, how Mr. Naya, although very wealthy, so much opulence, he was trying to teach Prabhupada, not only welcoming him, but even trying to cheat a great sannyasi, a great devotee. And the result was he was killed. Okay. So, living example, currently, not very 50 years back, that this happened. So, they are living example, even current situation in modern time. We see in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see in Srimad Bhagavatam, so many great lessons to learn. Okay. So, we see in current time, so many sannyasis come, great devotees come. All the devotees, even the non-devotees, get an opportunity to serve them. So get their blessing. We see His Holiness Krishna Maharaj comes twice a year. And his schedule is very tight. he's doing home visit every day, like 7, 8, 9, 10 visits in a day, So tight. So why he's going out? Just to give opportunity for devotees to serve him. He doesn't want personal respect. It's for their own benefit. It's not for his benefit. So devotees have the opportunity to wash his feet, offer garland, offer arti, offer some food, some prasadam, some welcome words, some donation. So it's a win-win situation. It's a win situation for the devotees, but more for the devotees than for him. Maharaj is doing his duty to serve his spiritual master, and the devotees get the opportunity to serve a Vaishnava in a very loving way. And the result is glorious. Both parties are very, very enlivened by the mercy of the Acharya. The flow of mercy and parampara from Krishna, Lord Krishna to downward through the sannyasis flows to the devotee's home. The home become purified, the devotee become enlightened, the devotee become inspired to preach this message of Bhagavatam. So very nice lesson to learn from this verse. One should be very cautious, not offending the Vaishnavas. One should be very welcoming to the devotees, or sannyasis, or anyone. And the result of not welcoming devotees, banning them or not welcoming them at home, leads to disaster, both spiritually and materially. So great lesson to learn from this verse. Very opposite verse from the previous verse. The previous verse, Pritha Maharaj's reception of Maharaj, the four Kumaras, will be very much glorified. This is Maitreya Muni's describing this reception to Vidura. He's very attentive. You want to know what was the college of Pritha Maharaj, how to receive them. Very nicely explained, the very culture of reciprocation, receiving great personages. But in this verse, we have the opposite. What happened? So great lesson to know. So I'll in my class here. Thank you very much for your time and patience, and thank you for listening. Today is a great day, and I wish you all a happy Krishna month. And let's see, you can go out and also preach from today and observe some brata. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Bhakti. So anybody, any queries or question or response or reflections on this verse? We can discuss. Thank you. We got another 7-8 minutes. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, then from to you.
Beautiful start of the day and the start of Purushottam Mas.
Okay.
Such a beautiful commentary on Bhagavatam. Especially how these Vaishnavas are so important in our life. We may not notice it because we are so much of engrossed with the material activities. We don't realize the importance of Vaishnava visits or Vaishnava appearance before us. So is 10 and 11 telling us, 10 is telling how fortunate, fortunate householder, and 11 is showing how unfortunate can be the householder if they are not welcoming the Vaishnavas. You nicely explained with the example of Ek Dandi, Tri Dandi, and the examples of Ramchandra Khan, Balaram, Ramaharshan, King Dina, Lord Shiva and Daksha. That example shows us how important is the Vaishnava welcome to our home. What they do actually, they actually purify our places to make us in the process of non-enviousness. And that example you gave from Bhagavad Gita 9.1. How Arjuna was receiving the message from Lord Krishna. Only Lord Krishna allowed him to listen because he was purely non-envious. So it's very, very important for all of us to make our ways such that our enviousness doesn't show up, or try to maintain the enviousness to the minimum level so that we can receive the mercy of the oncoming Vaishnavas in our places and accept their blessings to make progress in the spiritual journey of our own life. So this is very, very important. The example of snake and envious people, how envious people are more dangerous than the snake. Snake can be controlled by a charmer, but not the envious people. So this message is very, very important for all of us. And from this day of the first day of what is that called? Purushottam Mass, we must ensure that we try to follow, at least for me, follow this control of enviousness so that I may progress in my spiritual journey with the mercy of Vaishnavas, in acquaintance or in welcoming them at my residence. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your comment and reflection too. Thank you. Anybody else? Any comment?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Very nice
Yeah,
class,
Prabhuji.
particularly in the beginning of this first day of the Purushottam, and particularly the importance of a Vaishnava or a devotee, because when we are engrossed in this material world, we often forget our right responsibilities and duties, and they come to us to remind us about our real duties in this life, although we think other activities are more important. As yesterday, Prabhupada's Lilamrita, it was mentioned that when the death comes, it never waits for anything. We are busy, that doesn't stop us for the death to take toll on us. So we should always remember what is our duty and responsibility in life, and to remember the Lord at every moment and never forget it. And the devotees or the sannyasis, they come to our house just to tell this, to remind us that we should not forget the Lord at any point of time, and we should not consider them that they are an what I will say, uninvited guest to us. They are coming for our benefit, and we should remember it. And if we can offer them, I mean, at least welcome them, then it is for our own benefit only we get benefited. And they trying to help us, we should understand that. And if we understand that in this way, we get benefited from their words and from their actions, and whatever they say us, if we follow it, in our life will be successful. And that is the whole essence of this verse, that we should never forget what is our responsibility, and the Vaishnavas and the devotees are here to remind us. So we should not close our doors closed for them, and rather it should keep us open so that they are well invited and we get the benefit. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. So it's nice, some very nice comments. Thank you. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much for your nice class. We're really looking forward to your session, especially because nowadays we don't frequently have your session, so we're really looking forward to it. So we should have more frequent your Bhagavatam classes. And you were mentioning very nicely due to enviousness how Ramachandra Khan insulted the Lord Nityananda, and also other examples where they didn't treat the devotees properly, and because of that they had suffered. So I was just wondering, like, it's one thing is enviousness, and also, at least in my case, I can say, like, carelessness or just self-engrossed. I'm just engrossed in myself, and due to that, I neglect to treat the other Vaishnavas nicely or carefully because of my carelessness, self-engrossment, that kind of thing, and also enviousness of. So, what is the method to any suggestions or guidance how we can overcome this kind of carelessness or self-engrossed or this
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu, for this very nice query. Initial beginning of ISKCON, especially because I was introduced in Fiji. One of the things that was normal thing to do when you see a Vaishnava is to bow down of our businesses. It's not being done so regularly now. And by paying obeisances, so even to a new devotee, you break the barrier, Immediately there is a reciprocation. Okay, both sides are going down, which talk about, and break the barrier, and the situation became very conducive. So if there's any ill feeling or within the hearts and envy, that is sort of minimized or diminished. So this practice of offering obeisances to all devotees is very important. I used to do it in Fiji, but now coming here is no one is sort of doing it all the time. So yes, it's very careless. So that's one way to negate this thing of becoming not careless. The other way to become not careless is to have good relation with everybody. At least if you see a devotee, at least say Hare Krishna, how are you, Prabhu, what's happening? Just by this exchange of words, loving exchange, anything within the heart which is impeding our relationship can be minimized or diminished. So at least the third way is to be very careful that all devotees are very much in service of the Lord. They are, although one might be in a higher position or doing higher service, somebody might be doing another different service, but we have to respect the service and treat everybody as a person, as a servant of the Lord, and we are also servants. So if this relation is there, any feeling within the heart will be minimized. So respecting by Nanda Vraja, exchanging loving exchange, respecting other devotees' service, whatever the minor, whatever service is doing, you want to just appreciate what then the reciprocation will come, the loving relation will be established, and all these impediments in bhakti will be diminished or just minimized or just destroyed. That is my perspective on this. So thank you for anybody want to add anything else on this? Okay, anybody else have got any comments before we end the class? There doesn't seem to be, and also time is 8:33. So we'll end the class here. I'd like to thank everyone for coming together this morning and participating in Srimad Bhagavatam class. I owe my respect to everybody, and please forgive me if I made any error or omission, additions, which is not in line with the Prabhupada teaching. I beg your forgiveness, and please come forward if any issues. Please text me personally or talk to me, so I can rectify myself for future. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Sindhu Bhave Bhaja Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. His Grace Nanda Vraja Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hare Hare Bol. Humble devotees Hare Krishna. Purushottam Manth ki jai.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.